Hank Jameson was living the ideal suburban life. At 35 years old, he had a beautiful house in Maple Grove, a lovely wife named Clara, and two young kids who kept them busy. Hank worked as an accountant at a prestigious firm downtown, allowing Clara to stay home and raise the children. From the outside, they looked like the perfect family, happy and fulfilled in their smooth, comfortable life. While Hank was a devoted father, his job required him to travel often for conferences, client meetings, and work events. As a rising executive at the firm, he regularly spent 2 to 3 nights a week on the road. Hank did not mind the frequent travel. He enjoyed the hotel perks, business dinners, and random networking encounters that allowed him to advance his career. The time away took a toll on Clara, though, leaving her home alone to handle the kids and household duties. During a 2-week-long conference in Miami, Hank met Emily, a vivacious 25-year-old who worked for one of his biggest clients. They immediately hit it off, enjoying long dinners chatting about work and their personal lives. On the last night, after plenty of drinks, they ended up back in Emily's hotel room. Hank had never strayed from his marriage before, but found himself captivated by Emily's energy and affection. This night marked a turning point for Hank, unlocking desires and temptations he could no longer suppress. Back home after Miami, Hank tried to brush off his night with Emily as a random moment of weakness. He vowed to refocus on his family and his life in Maple Grove. However, Emily started texting Hank regularly, reminiscing about their passionate encounter and suggesting they meet up on his next trip. Hank knew he should cut off contact completely, but found himself enjoying the attention and excitement of their flirtatious exchanges. When an important client conference came up in Chicago, Hank realized he would see Emily again. He justified it by telling himself this was just part of the job, mingling with colleagues and clients at industry events. Emily greeted Hank enthusiastically with a lingering hug and peck on the cheek. As they chatted over cocktails, the attraction between them was palpable. Hank's mind raced with possibilities. Later that night, Emily showed up at Hank's hotel room in a revealing dress, bottle of wine in hand. Hank again found himself unable to resist. As Emily kissed him aggressively, all of Hank's reservations melted away, consumed by intense desire and passion. They slept together again, the sex somehow better than Hank remembered in Miami. Afterwards, lying there together, Hank felt pangs of guilt creeping in about his wife Clara waiting at home. But the guilt faded quickly when Hank woke up next to Emily the next morning, her gorgeous body entangled in the sheets. As much as he cared about his family, Hank could not walk away from this. The excitement and adrenaline of his encounters with Emily were simply too addictive. Hank knew he was playing with fire that could burn his perfect suburban life to the ground. Yet he found himself willing to take the risk. Back home after Chicago, Hank doubled down on being a present husband and father, as if overcompensating for his betrayals. But Clara noticed Hank seemed distracted, often staring off in thought. When Clara asked if anything was wrong, Hank laughed it off, attributing his moodiness to work stress. In reality, Emily consumed Hank's thoughts, her texts, their passionate romps when they might meet again. Hank continued seeking assignments that would send him to cities where Emily lived. He would arrange to extend stays, telling Clara that client meetings ran late. After the official events, Hank and Emily would hole up in his hotel room, emerging only for room service. Hank marveled at how expertly Emily sneaked around without raising her boyfriend's suspicions. After a tryst in Los Angeles, Hank made up an excuse about car trouble and stayed an extra night with Emily. When he got home, Clara sensed something amiss and confronted Hank about the unexplained extra hotel charge. Hank angrily brushed it off, calling Clara paranoid. But Clara's gut told her something was off. Clara decided to do some digging and checked the phone records. She saw Hank exchanging hundreds of texts with an unfamiliar number. One night when Hank was asleep, Clara took his phone into the bathroom. Reading their messages, her worst fears were confirmed. Clara's world came crashing down as the ugly truth stared back at her. The next morning, Clara confronted Hank at breakfast, sliding his phone across the table. "I read your texts, so don't bother lying about Emily," she said, shaking with anger and hurt. Hank's face went white. He stammered excuses about it being harmless flirting, but Clara cut him off. "Do not insult me further. I saw the naked photos," she yelled. Hank's head spun, unsure how to diffuse Clara's fury over his betrayal. "Okay, yes, I've gotten too close to Emily, but nothing happened. We just exchanged some inappropriate texts. I will stop all contact," he pleaded. Clara laughed bitterly. "I saw your disgusting messages planning your hookups. You will not see that woman again." Clara threatened to leave with the kids, exposing Hank's sordid affair to their family and friends. She warned that she would take him to the cleaners in a divorce. Hank begged Clara not to destroy their family over a stupid mistake. He desperately promised to do anything to regain her trust. Clara was unmoved, unsure if this damage could ever be repaired. As Clara called Emily's boyfriend to tell him about the affair, Hank felt his world imploding. His recklessness risked losing Clara, their kids, his reputation. Hank vowed to break it off with Emily, but knew those fervent texts and ecstatic nights together would haunt him forever. There would be no easy redemption from his selfish indiscretions. Hank immediately quit his high-powered job, knowing the frequent travel enabled his cheating. He referred Emily's company to another account manager at the firm to cut contact. Clara monitored Hank's phone obsessively to verify he wasn't in touch with Emily. Hank's days now consisted of groveling efforts to salvage his marriage. But Clara struggled to get past the betrayal, vacillating between rage and utter devastation. She unleashed vitriol at Hank for risking everything over some young floozy. Other times, she collapsed in tears remembering their wedding dance and family trips, before Hank shattered her trust. They started counseling, though Clara remained guarded with her emotions. She felt like she no longer knew the man sleeping next to her each night. Had Clara done something to drive him away, or was he simply not who Clara thought? The foundation of their marriage now seemed riddled with cracks. Hank spiraled into severe depression, consumed by guilt over inflicting such pain on his wife and kids. He hardly recognized himself. How could he be so reckless with his family's happiness? The fallout made Hank realize nothing was worth losing what they had built together. He prayed Clara would one day forgive him, but the path back to normalcy was long and uncertain. After months of counseling and tedious relationship work, Clara finally started to thaw. She felt Hank's remorse was genuine. He truly realized the gravity of his actions. While the scars still ran deep, Clara wanted to salvage their family, which meant finding a way to forgive. Hank devoted himself entirely to Clara and the kids, doing everything possible to redeem himself. He focused on remembering the blessings in his life, rather than what he almost lost. Hank never broke contact with Emily, who Clara learned later got married herself. On their 10th anniversary, Clara surprised Hank with a vow renewal ceremony, wanting to rededicate themselves to each other. Hank cried in Clara's arms, promising to love her faithfully for the rest of their lives. It would be a long road back to complete trust, but they were slowly turning a corner. Hank never stopped feeling remorse over the affair, but he learned invaluable lessons about cherishing your loved ones and resisting foolish temptations. Hank's mistakes would stay with him forever, reminding him how moments of weakness can fracture lives. Still, their family endured, bruised but not broken. 10 years later, the affair was an unshakable memory that Hank carried with shame and regret. He wished he could erase that period of weakness, but knew the experience changed him profoundly. Hank learned to appreciate the sanctity of marriage and to never take his family for granted. Clara found she could let go of most of the bitterness, focusing on the present strength of their relationship. Occasionally, old wounds would resurface, where Clara would close herself off or make snide remarks. But Clara chose to define their marriage by the full journey, including the hard-won wisdom gained. Their kids were now young adults, aware that their parents almost split when they were little. Hank regretted exposing them to the ugliness of his infidelity. He hoped his children would learn from his mistakes, that lust and lies destroy, while honesty and devotion nurture relationships. Hank never strayed again, remaining faithful to Clara, who regained confidence in their commitment. They embraced the messy imperfections of marriage and humanity. Hank realized some choices leave permanent scars, but gratitude, humility, and perseverance can help heal wounds over time. Their journey was proof